We're studying Numbers 23, 19 through 21 today. We're going to ask such questions as these. Does God ever regret? Why would God repent? Does God ever lie? Can I change God's mind? Is God like us? Is God like man? Would God lie? Does God ever change his mind? And does God ever go back on his promises? So, we're going to answer a lot of these questions from just this short passage of 3 verses. It speaks very directly on some of these issues, and they are important issues. So it's important for us to study them. Okay, so today we're going to look at Numbers 23, one of my favorite verses I quote often, verse 19, and then 20 and 21. And this is, the context is about Balaam, who's in the middle of one of his prophecies. He has 4 prophecies that he delivers. Balak, who is the king of the Moabites, is trying to buy him off with a diviner's fee. And Balaam makes a mistake and starts to go when he's not supposed to go. And he has to face an angel with a sword that he doesn't see, and the donkey who's misbehaving because he sees the angel. We all know that story. But this is after that. This is what Balaam says. I'm going to read first the rooted word. God is not a human being, interrupted. Not, however, even as a son of a human being, menaced. Does he speak, and will he not indeed do? Does he utter, and will he not indeed keep in place? Behold, I have received alongside me to bless. I will bless, and I will not at all twist off from it. There is not toiling in Jacob, neither toiling for daily sustenance will be seen with staring in Israel. Yahweh, his God, is with him. The indwelling glory of the beginning and authority is in him. Now, I'm going to read the King James Version, and you get a comparison of the two. You'll see it here on the screen over here. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he hath blessed. And I cannot reverse it. He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. To tell you the truth, I was just now in shock about some of the differences that I hadn't seen. I knew Numbers 23:19, so I knew the differences there, but there were some pretty significant differences in 20. So let's have a look at this. Numbers 23:19, God is not a human being interrupted. God is not a man that he should lie. Okay. It doesn't mean lie. It's actually a word that's not found in the Strong's Concordance. It's because it is Greek, right? It's from the Septuagint. And the King James was translating from the Hebrew. So they're taking the bastardized version of the Old Testament that was twisted and distorted by the Masoretic Jews who killed Jesus. They're the ones who obscured all the prophecies about Christ in the Old Testament on purpose, saying that they were restoring the oral traditions to the written text. In other words, just allowing them to come up with whatever they wanted to, make whatever changes they wanted to. So the Greek is a translation that was done 200 years before Christ by the Jews themselves, was authorized version of the Old Testament. So that one has not been altered and monkeyed with. So we can rely on that. That's why I'm translating from this. And in the Greek Old Testament, it's interrupted. So God is not a human being interrupted. You can't interrupt God. God will not be interrupted. Not like a human being can be. I can interrupt you, but try interrupting God. You going to make him stop speaking when he wants to speak? I don't think so. Not, however, even as a son of a human being, menaced. The son runs to his parents because he's being menaced. He's being harassed, right? Well, God can't be menaced. You can't harass God into doing what you want him to do, into not doing what he wants to do. And that actually is the context of Balaam and Balak. Balak is trying to get Balaam to harass God by harassing him. Then it says, does he speak and will he not indeed do? Now that's very similar. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? There is no past tense in the Greek, but they're using the Hebrew. So, hath he said, and shall he not do it? So does he speak, and will he not indeed do it? Is much stronger than just not do it. King James, or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? And the Greek here, from the rooted word, does he utter, and will he not indeed keep in place? Okay, not make it good. Make it good? So, yeah, the King James is trying to say that he said something, then he's going to make it happen. But they've already said that. In this case, in the Greek, it's does he utter and will he not indeed keep in place? That you cannot remove what God has spoken. If God has spoken it, you cannot remove it. You might want to, but you cannot remove it. And that's what's going on about this blessing, where Balaam is blessing Israel, and Balak is getting upset because he wants to pay him so that he'll curse Israel. And Balaam keeps saying, I can only say what God says. It's not my opinion. And so he comes back and he blesses Israel. Balak gets upset again. And Balaam says, it's God. God is the one who's telling me to bless them. And I can't speak otherwise. And he still tries to tempt him to doing it against what God says. So then that's why this makes sense. The Greek makes much more sense in the context of the story. So you see how they tried to obscure this, right? Does he utter and will he not indeed keep in place? He utters it and it will be kept in place. No one will uproot it. No one will change it, no matter what they say. Verse 20. Behold, I have received alongside me to bless. I will bless, and I will not at all twist off from it. In the King James here, this is where I was a bit in shock. I had to actually go look at it in the Greek. Behold, I have received commandment to bless. At least they put the commandment in italics so that you can see, or oblique, I think they call it, so that you can see that it was a word that was added. It's not actually in the original language. So at least they admit that. So if you want to say it the way the original language says it, the Hebrew, which again, remember, is a bastardized Old Testament. Behold, I have received to bless. So commandment's not there at all. And he hath blessed. Yeah, but the Greek says, I will bless, not hath. I will bless. And cannot reverse it? No, it's not even. And I will not at all twist off from it. I will not depart from it. I will not try to get out from it. So behold, I have received alongside me to bless. I will bless. And I will not at all twist off from it. You can't corrupt me. Verse 21, there is not toiling in Jacob, neither toiling for daily sustenance will be seen with staring in Israel. Toiling. Hard work. There's no striving for work in Jacob. And if you remember the story of Jacob, you'll understand. Neither toiling for daily sustenance will be seen with staring in Israel. Okay? Like you can stare and see and find someone toiling for daily sustenance just to survive, to eat, that you won't find that in Israel. Yahweh, his God, is with him. The indwelling glory of the beginning and authority is in him. This word in the Greek is beautiful. Love it. Archonton. So it is archon. And arche, like in John 1, in arche en hologos kai, hologos en proston theon. In arche, in the beginning, right? But that word arche means more than beginning. It means both things at once, beginning and authority at the same time. In the beginning of beginnings and the authority of the authorities was the Word. And the Word was with God. When you know that, then it makes sense. So it should be in the translation. And the same here. The indwelling glory of the beginning and authority is in him. Referring to God. Not only as king, as it says, the shout of a king or something like this. And the shout of a king is among them. Okay, no. It's not, the shout of a king is not, it's not that at all. It's the indwelling glory. That is what it says. You see how they obscured that? They absolutely obscured that. The indwelling glory of the beginning and authority is in him. And they probably did that because that's the same word used for Jesus in John 1. So now we see God's not a human being. He's not going to be interrupted by anyone. When he wants to speak and he doesn't want to be interrupted, he will not be interrupted. And he's not even a son of a human being who will be menaced. You can't harass God into anything. Does he speak and will he not indeed do? Of course, when he speaks, he does. Does he utter and will he not indeed keep in place? Absolutely. He utters it and he keeps it in place. No one can take it out or twist it off, right? No one can remove it. He keeps it in place. So when he gives us a promise and we don't want to obey it, we're not removing that promise by not obeying it. That promise is there, but it's there to testify against us in the last judgment because we didn't live according to that promise. When God makes a promise, it doesn't disappear. It stays. He keeps it in place. No one can remove it. But if you don't live in that promise, if you go your own way, it becomes a testimony against you because you're not agreeing with it. You're not living in agreement with it. And when you run off your own way, this testimony stands as a testimony. God's utterance stands as a testimony against you. And you do not want to be in that situation. You do not want to be in that situation, and most people live in that situation daily. Number one, because they don't hear God's words. Number two, because even when they do hear it, they either don't recognize it or they reject it because they don't want to live a life like that. They want to live a life the way they want to live the life. They don't want that kind of life. Maybe it's strange to them. Maybe it's foreign to them. Maybe it's something that they're not used to. Maybe that's something that they will be embarrassed to live because of their family and their friends. They'll look and say, yeah, what are you doing? Shouldn't you be doing this? But you're doing this. Because God has given you a promise and you're living in it. And so it's humble. You must humble yourself. And you must take the promise, the words that God has given, that He's not going to remove. It's there. And you must live in it. And if you don't, it stands as a testimony against you in the end. And you have nothing in your defense against it. Nothing. Because God meant it as a blessing. And you left it. Now that blessing stands as a testimony against you. That's how it is. That's why we must live in God's promises every day. Remember to subscribe down below and like the video, and then make a comment, whether it's a question or a comment. It's okay. We read all of them and we try to respond to all of those. Get on over to our website, The Rooted Word, and start reading the translation and also the articles that we've posted. It's at therootedword.com. And may the Lord bless you as you continue to seek Him with all your heart.